Where are we at in what type of terrain and stuff are we at in Wildmont right now? We're in the Feywild, right?
We're just gonna unmute. We're gonna start this guy. We're gonna share my Facebook page thing. Just turn the volume down. We're gonna share it. Oh my gosh. Live. Good golly gosh. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Next Level 4. My name is Harrison. I'm your host with the most. I'm joined by the ever incredible, indefatigable, wonderful, amazing, incredible, good guy, Gary Knoxberry. Hello! Happy New Year's.
Well, Happy New Year. I feel like I haven't seen you in like a year or you know what the joke is? I haven't seen you since last
year. There you go. Well, no, I guess we saw each other for like a day.
A day, you know. Only a day.
Only a day. Only a day. And, you know, hello everyone. It's so nice to finally be back. I know we kind of went off the radar for about a month there, but things got real. They were real really quick. I was traveling for the holidays. I took my very first vacation from work in like 10 years. And as a result, I told myself I wasn't going to do anything. Like literally said, I'm not doing anything. And as a result, we didn't end up filming a single episode of Next to the Floor. So
I think we both were in the same boat. You know, it's the holidays. A lot of people haven't taken the time off like they should have and should be. And you know, I think like everybody at the workplace was just like, you know what? We're gonna take some time for ourselves and we're going to like it.
We're gonna shut it down. Yeah, this was, you know, I've been working for this studio for a very long time. Shocking to no one. And this was the very first time ever that we have been like successfully closed. I know it's like a weird word or phrase to use, but like quite literally the first time we have been closed for the holidays as much as we were, which was really nice.
I feel like a similar thing was happening across all, you know, workplaces. I hear a lot of people saying, yeah, no, they're definitely going to take some time off, you know, because the grind's dead. Well, it's not dead.
It's not dead, but I think people, the understanding or like the definition of the grind has shifted a lot, especially in this last year. I mean, at least I hope it has. You know?
I hope so too.
I don't know anybody who could look at like life pre-COVID. Well, okay, so I'm going to say this with no irony, knowing that there's a lot of irony in it. I can't see anybody looking at life pre-COVID and thinking that like that was what we wanted.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, we were doing, you know, it sucks because it's just like, we've been taught to, like, like, work hard. If you're not working hard, you're not, making money, or,
Right. Like, what the hell good
that's
are
not
ya?
the that's not the way. It's not the way to go.
It really isn't. And, it was so nice for the first time to, like, not feel guilty about it's, that is not to say that I would ever feel guilty taking time off, but this was kind of the first time I didn't actively feel guilty about taking time off.
Yeah.
Also, in the sense that, because I work in two different studios for the general public's knowledge, everybody who's watching. As I throw my camera and everything. Everybody calm down. Nobody panic. Hold on, I'm ruining the stream. Everybody stay calm. This is why we can't have nice things, y'all, because I touch stuff and then I ruin it. So, I work in two studios. The Boston studio was closed the week of Christmas, Wednesday through Saturday. And I work in Boston Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And then I work in Weymouth Tuesday and Thursday, but we were closed on Thursday for the holiday. So I just decided, I'm taking the time off because I'm not trying to, I love Weymouth, love going down to Weymouth, but I'm not trying to go down to Weymouth for a singular day of work. For nothing.
Oh.
For nothing. And, like, for what? To teach, like, because it's literally 2 days before Christmas to teach what, like 3 lessons because everybody else is canceled.
Because it's Christmas and nobody wants to.
Right. I mean, granted, the difference between, sorry, I'm digging into some, we're not sponsored by Mother's, but Mother's, the original circus cookie, animal cookies.
So,
my camera's over here.
Those are the best.
They're not Barnum's, but there's something about them being covered in sugar that just makes them that much better. But the people who live in the city and come to the studio are very different than the people who live in the suburbs and go to the studio down in Weymouth, mostly because, like, the people who live in this, not that people in the suburbs don't travel for the holidays, but, like, that's where their home and family is. Right, whereas most people who live in the city, their home and family is elsewhere, and therefore they travel. So I don't know that we would have had as many cancellations as, like, we would have in the Boston studio, but nonetheless, I wasn't trying to work for a single day.
I feel you.
And also, I had
Did you
mad
see the
pay
snow
time
on the
off.
ground?
The snow on the ground. Oh yeah, we finally got some snow.
It's gonna be gone just like that.
Oh well, it's 40 something degrees today, so shocking to no one. Yay, but it finally snowed. It's gonna stay pretty warm all week, and then it's gonna drop down into the 20s come Saturday, but still be kind of sunny. And then we're supposed to get some snow this coming weekend. It's supposed to be 12 degrees on Tuesday. Looking at the weather. Great. Love that. Love that journey for us. Yeah, but now that it's the new year, might as well get a little bit of snow. Speaking of it being first, how was your holiday?
It was good. It was very like emotional. There's a lot of emotions, in that trip because I haven't been back to Vegas with my significant other. Marcy, the one that always comments on all of our stuff.
Yes, she's the ultimate mom, stage mom. Marcy fully supports Next to the Floor and everything we stand for, which is so great. Thanks, Marcy, for being a real one.
But like first time being back in a while since before the pandemic. So a few years, almost 3 years, that we both haven't been back together. I mean, we both went back separately, but together, that's the thing. So we drove around doing all the things we used to do together in Vegas. Got, what's the word? Emotional and
Mm-hmm.
what do you call it? That one word when you're like thinking about the past.
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic. It got a little bit of nostalgia up in there. So it was fun. It was fun. Um, awesome seeing friends again. That the ones that are still there, still doing their thing,
Right.
grinding. How was your holiday? I didn't. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's all. I mean, family and friends. You know.
Many emotions. Marcy says emotions. My holiday was good. Nothing happened, which was the plan. I woke up every day, came right over here to my computer, sat down, made myself a cup of tea, played video games until my eyes hurt, and then, got up.
Did you work out though?
No, not at what I know. I know. Okay, so everybody calm down. Nobody panic.
I can
So,
see your shoulders getting a little bit smaller.
excuse me, sir, and oh, I'm not here to be berated. So, no, I did not. So, quite literally my goal for the holidays was to, when I say do nothing, I literally meant like I don't want to leave my apartment, I don't want to move, I don't want to have to do anything. And I didn't. And then at the end of it, I was like, okay, I should I think by day 9 or 10, I was like, all right, I should probably like consider the option of getting up and doing something. Um, but consider is the key there. I considered the option of doing it. Did I? No. But at least the option was there for me. I did start going back to the gym, so don't worry.
I can just imagine you, with some Bruno Mars sitting there, just like today I don't feel like doing
That was
anything.
basically the theme song for my week. I wasn't gonna play it, but that's what had happened. Was me decidedly not doing anything. It was really fun. I enjoy it. If you ever get the opportunity, everyone at home, to like just do nothing and amount to nothing, like actively choose to do nothing for a day, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. And
Yeah, no, you,
I am very glad with after this week that we've collectively had in this studio, that doing nothing was exactly what I did.
yeah,
Because
I feel
it has been wild. Wild. For no reason. For literally no reason. I've been trying to look up to see, I was looking up to see if, if if Mercury was in retrograde, or if there was a full moon, or if like somebody had poisoned the water supply or something. But this past week has been cuckoo
for all of the Cocoa Puffs.
for every single Cocoa Puff in that box. Like, I think when we said, okay, we're done with 2021 and we're like moving on to the next thing, I didn't realize that we were gonna like, you know, circle back to 2020. But
I mean, 2020.
2022 came in hard. I know 2020 also, 2022, TOO, the big TOO. But it came in swinging.
Yeah, no, it came in like the Kool-Aid man
Oh, like
through the wall.
through the wall, straight through the wall. Let everybody know that she was here, and was pulling no punches whatsoever.
You think the Kool-Aid man is the The pitcher or the juice?
I think there was a commercial that they did that settled that, where it's the Kool-Aid Man is actually the pitcher. Because there's um, one commercial. I'm fairly positive. I'm not making this up, although I want. Um, where he's just like walking around his house because he has a house, apparently.
I
Um,
wonder if it probably doesn't have any walls anymore.
yeah, seeing how he comes bursting through everybody's business, it's amazing to me that he even has a house. Yeah, I'm fairly positive the Kool Aid Man is the
He's the
the
pitcher. Yeah.
pitcher. Yeah. Well, that settles it. So if everybody was wondering, um, but yeah, so this week has been nutso. A whole boatload of things are like shifting, moving, changing, left, right, and center in my life, the studio's life, everything. It's a lot.
In everybody's life that works at the studio, it's like crazy. It's like,
It's crazy. Well, so I guess because I don't want to go into really any details because it's all kind of like privileged information and stuff, and I don't want to say things that I'm not supposed to. But let's just start with saying that our friend Rona and her Omicron variant has been sweeping through the studio, and it has been so very much to deal with, to the point where, like, I mean, for what it's worth, people get sick, and we have to move lessons. People can't come in to teach because of this, that, the other thing. So none of it was like shockingly or exceedingly new. I think it was just the amount of movement rescheduling, this, that, and the other thing that I've had to do over this last week has been like enough to make my head want to explode.
yeah. And it's so crazy because, like, when all of this was going down, like, or no, OG COVID, we stayed pretty much clear. Like,
I know. That was the craziest part. Way back in the beginning of this whole entire thing, there was nary a problem in our studio. Like, I think we had one weekend where we had to like close the studio for like 2 days, but that was it.
yeah.
And here we are now. But now at different times, you don't necessarily have to close the studio. We just have to let people know what's going on.
And on the bright side, like, people are getting vaccinated and boosted, so when people do get it, like, it's more of like a really a very annoying thing rather than
So,
life or death. So you're about to tell me some information about getting
speaking
vaccinated
of
or get
that, I
vaccinated.
have a story. I'm so glad that you brought this up because I've been meaning to tell you this story like all weekend, and I was like, no, I've got to save it for the podcast. So, whether everybody may or may not know, here in Boston, starting this coming week, the city, like pretty much every business in the city, is requiring proof of vaccination for entrance. Like, it's just like a city-wide mandate slash law, which I think is awesome. And there's actually I'll get to the story here in just a second, but I was talking to a one of our students about it, and she was saying that she actually just read this article about how a lot of the media coverage of like vaccination mandates has been focused much more on the negative side of like people who are opposed to it, But the article that she read was much more focused on the positive effects of vaccine mandates and what that does for workplace culture and environment. And what she said is that in this article, the person who wrote it like kind of did a study, and what they found was that the vast majority of businesses who have like instituted a vaccine mandate or have like made policies regarding like mandatory vaccinations for COVID have been able to retain more customers and employees, shocker to no one, and have found that people who haven't been, or like employees who haven't been in compliance, or even customers who haven't been in compliance with their like vaccine protocols and mandates and things along those lines, have not only been fired or like let go, but it was like most of the people who were fired or let go, the business themselves were looking for reasons to let that person go to begin with. So in all, the people who, or the businesses who have been enacting like mandatory vaccination mandates have found that their workplace environments have become healthier because everybody feels like they are all kind of like chipping in for the greater good and working together for a greater purpose, which
It per- it definitely builds a sense of a community, knowing that like everybody in that, you know, establishment shares
mm-hmm,
the same view,
yes.
and like health wise, and dare I say it, I mean political, because now the virus is not now, I guess it always has been, but political as well, you know.
I also have to find the link to this study, but we were talking about this, not we, but we, a couple of the staff of the Boston studio, we were talking about this in the studio the other day about there was a study that was published recently about the relationship between like blood type and COVID-19 infections. Why were we talking about this? Oh, because we were like taking bets to see who in the studio was going to, like, who of the staff was going to be one of the last, like the last person to get COVID. That is the bet that we were placing. And so, you know, we were all hedging bets and things along those lines. And then somebody was like, I think it has something to do, there's something about blood types that has to do with it. And so I looked up this survey or this study, and they found, these scientists had studied, I think it was like 9 or 10 different ICUs around the country, looking at COVID-19 patients. And what they found was that of the COVID-19 patients in these ICUs, that the overwhelming majority had A or type A or B blood types, and they found that of them, that the vast majority of them were A, so that if you have type A blood, that you are more likely to suffer the effects of COVID-19 than other blood types, and that type O is the least likely to experience negative effects from COVID-19, which I thought was really cool.
Negative or positive?
Oh my gosh, well then, so it goes even deeper. So then they also were looking at like the different RH types. I forget what RH stands for. But they found that RH positive blood types are more likely to experience effects of COVID-19. They looked at more from like people who needed to be intubated and like provided oxygen support. So people, not, that's not to say, you know, obviously, because it's a scientific study and there are always outliers to all statistics, but that people with RH positive blood were, if suffering from COVID-19 symptoms, were more likely to be intubated than people with RH negative blood types. So the ideal blood type is O negative. and then the least ideal blood type is A positive.
Ah, so you're O negative?
I am O negative.
I'm O positive.
See? Look at that.
Yeah.
So you're like kind of a universal donor, but I am the universal donor. Deal with it.
There you go. At least you got that on me.
Yeah, well, I try to be perfect, Gary. I can only do so much. I can only do so much. Oh, okay. So, all of this to say, I thought that was really interesting, fun little science fact that I
I
found
didn't
out.
even know that, so that's pretty interesting. I learned something today.
Yeah, I've got to
I always seem
find.
to learn something when I'm talking to you.
I
So.
need to find that article that I was reading because it was really interesting. I read good chunks of it. Oh, it's from the U.S. National Library of Medicine. In relationship between blood type and outcomes following COVID-19 infection. This should show up in the description. I'm also going to link it in the chat so that people have it. It was really cool. But so I had my first run-in with like a heavy-duty, like hardcore anti-vaxxer.
Oh, really?
It was wild on Friday.
Oh, please do share.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what had
I did
happened?
too. I did. Okay. Oh, I have a story.
Yeah. Oh, you go first. You go first. You go first. You go first.
No, no. I just have a story after you.
Okay. Um. Oh, thank you, Persis, for the article. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Excuse me. Yeah. So the article has to do with like the severity of COVID-19 specific health risks and things like that, and blood types. In the studio, I'm responsible for taking care of like inquiry calls and all of those things. So anybody who wants to come in and take dance lessons, or whatever, they go to one of our websites and they click on a thing, and then we get an email saying like, hey, this person's interested in taking a dance lesson. So I reach out to them. So I get on the phone with this guy. I'm not going to name any names because, I don't want to I'm not a monster. And he sounds wicked cool. He's this cool middle-aged guy. He's from England or whatever. His wife used to be a ballet dancer for the British Ballet, and he used to do stage shows and things along those lines. And then they moved to the US. They want to get back into dancing, but don't necessarily they want to be able to like dance together. And they both loved watching Strictly Come Dancing, which is like, I don't want to say the American or the English equivalent of Dancing with the Stars, because Strictly Ballroom or Strictly Come Dancing came first, but it is, for lack of better words, it is the English equivalent of Dancing with the Stars. Anywho, so we're in the middle of we're having this really great conversation, getting to know them a little bit, and I'm about to invite them to come into the studio for the first time or whatever. And so the guy, we're on the phone, he goes, so what are you guys doing about vaccinations? And I was like, okay, really, honestly, like, good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah, like, that's a good question, because, as we know, up to this point, nothing has really been like mandatory per se, aside from wearing masks inside. And even then, a lot of businesses, especially like I don't want to say physical businesses, but a lot of the dance studios in our area, I will say that's the phrase I'm going to use, have been very like lax in their policies as far as protecting their communities and students and staff from coronavirus. Anywho, I was like, okay, well, that's a really good question. So our studio is located in downtown Boston. And as a result of that, starting on January 15th, we're requiring everybody to provide proof of vaccination. um, in accordance with city mandates. And then also we're requiring everybody to wear masks while in the studio, also in accordance with city mandates. I mean, truthfully, even if it wasn't a city mandate, we'd probably be doing that anyway. So like,
For real.
whatever. So when I tell you that this conversation took a complete 180 with a quickness, like,
Did was he the ones that just hang up
no,
or
no, 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 no. So
no?
he says to me, these are his words, and this line verbatim. This has been seared into my memory. He said, "Well, I just want to let you know that both my wife and I are incredibly educated, and neither of us are going to step foot near a vaccine. I've seen far too many people I've seen far too many people die days after, or no, he said far too many people drop dead days after taking their second vaccine. And I know you have a lot of students there who are also incredibly educated, and I'm sure that they have the same viewpoint. And I feel that you're going to very much suffer because of this. I know there's not really anything you can do, but I just think it's something you should consider."
Okay, bye. We'll consider it not.
Right. Those were his exact words. And so I trying to be as professional as I can in this situation. Of course, I'm kind of like, first I'm a little bit blindsided because we were just having this really nice conversation, and then suddenly I'm being kind of like yelled at. Hi, Blink. It's so good to see you. Welcome to the chat. So yeah, completely blindsided by this whole entire situation. So I'm just kind of on the phone like, well, I quite literally am just asking you if you want to take dance lessons. So you don't have to yell at me. Also, I guess like if you change your mind or something, you know where we are.
You know what you should have said? You should have said, "Well, since you're so educated, let me know when you become a little bit more dumber,
Right. And then
and then
also,
I'll sign you
like,
up for dance
uh,
lessons."
my wife and I are both very educated. Like, me too. The fuck? Like, hello, good for you. Right? And like, but truthfully, like, unless you have a PhD in immunology or virology, I could give two shits about how educated you are in your understanding of vaccinations and the COVID-19. I don't care.
Why
I
is
don't
it
care.
that why is it that all the people that try to, like, when you haven't even unsolicited, all the
Yes.
people who are speak out unsolicited, always try to pump up their, like, "Oh, I'm smart." They before even going in there, before making their argument, they have to say how smart they are, how educated, you know?
So
No, like,
I this that's along the same lines of saying, like, in the beginning, qualifying the beginning of a statement by saying, like, I'm not racist, but if you have to
I'm
announce,
highly educated.
right, if you have
Like,
to announce something or qualify your statement by making a claim about yourself, it's probably not true. Or I should say, it casts a wee little bit of doubt. Just a wee scotch of doubt. Like, oh, you're highly educated by what? Facebook University?
YouTube.
YouTube, right. You went on YouTube. Listen to Joe Rogan for 5 minutes. Like, miss me with that.
And it's crazy, just like we're still talking about like misinformation and stuff like that now still, but it's just crazy how like
I
some of these sources out here that these people watch and they're like, oh, this is completely true, and they don't even try to check their source or check their like. I'm not gonna lie, there's been a couple times where I took a screenshot and then I sent it to somebody and I've been like, this And then they're like, "How about you like compare that to a few more
Right. Let's
sources
take
than
a
just
step
this
back.
one?
Right.
Let's just take a step back, And thankfully, those the people that have done that with me were just like really patient because sometimes I get set. Everybody gets there set in their ways, right? But I'm the one that's like, hold on, yes, let me go check some more sources and get back to you because I just reacted off of this one article.
Yes. And so, I must also, because we're streaming this onto YouTube, and this will be on YouTube, just to make sure that, we don't get flagged or anything, obviously we here fully believe that vaccines work and that everybody should get vaccinated and, do your part to protect yourselves and your community, blah, 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 blah. The but all of that being said, you know, he's highly educated. So,
Way smarter than any of the scientists,
and like
for
you're highly
the country.
educated, like my dude, you are in Boston, Massachusetts.
That everybody is like here. Okay,
Highly
so here.
the
Okay, so here's the scale. Okay, here's the scale. Here's the scale. Here, up here, and then down here.
mm-hmm.
Right in Boston, this is like highly educated level right
Yes,
here. This is
you
this is
have
and out of everybody in Boston.
right.
You
You've
know,
got the likes of Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, Boston University, Tufts University. And that's just 5 of the 32 colleges and universities that exist within Greater Boston. And you're going to sit here and tell me that, like, you and your wife are special because you're highly educated? Like, me too. So what?
I love
And
how I love how he was like, you probably have some educated people at this studio too who probably agree with me. And I'm like,
I said
that's when
probably.
you said that, that's what just like I'm like,
And yeah, and we might, and they're not going to be with us after the 15th. And so, I guess all I'm going to say is sucks to suck. We're going to,
sucks to
well, I was like, sir, I wanted to say, like, sir, you obviously don't know our studio or our business. We're one of the most highest performing ballroom dance studios, not only in our company, but in the world. Don't come at me with this we're gonna suffer, because I'm fairly certain, based on the number of conversations I've already had today before yours, letting people know that when they come into the studio that they have to provide proof of vaccination. Spoiler alert, it was all 15 of the people that I spoke to before this guy. All of them were totally fine with it, and nobody had a problem with it. They were all like, awesome, great, that makes me, I had multiple people say, awesome, that makes me super happy that you're doing that. It makes me feel more comfortable coming in to take ballroom dance lessons wherein I have to stand in close physical proximity to another human being.
no. Those are the uneducated people apparently.
Like,
I'll have you know that I'm educated and
I,
those people.
I just, oh my god, it was such a wild moment. I didn't
It
know
was
what to
crazy
do.
too. Like when I had to call our boss downstairs one time. It was like mid. I don't know what mid pandemic means anymore or
Right.
is, but like that there was an anti-masker downstairs, and she was not just a regular anti-masker,
Where she didn't want to get
but like
her, yes,
their temperature taken.
she didn't want to get her temperature taken. I remember that.
It's just like, okay, you got like a makeshift mask over her face, like it was like something that she pulled out of her purse that she just put on just to be in there, but you could clearly tell that she did not have a mask. And she was just like, no, I can take my temperature upstairs. I'm like, no, you
That's not
can't.
how this works.
She's like, yes, I can. And I don't know what it is with like like people with the lighter skin being like feeling so confident to
Mm.
tell me no, you know. So I just stood there and I was like, oh, I need to go get somebody with lighter skin to tell you no, so you can listen to me, so we can listen.
Kristen. Kristen.
So
Hello?
she went downstairs and she was like, no. And then, she listened.
Turned her away with a quickness. She said,
Yeah.
well, if you're not going to get your temperature taken down here, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do for you. Sorry.
We're lucky. We're actually lucky as a studio that there was little to no Karens and what do they call male Karens and stuff,
Yeah, very little. Like I was working with this couple recently, and they were concerned that they weren't going to be able to get their lessons done by the 15th. And I was like, oh, what do you mean? We ended up making it happen, but they were like, oh, well, we're not vaccinated, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so they at least like weren't shitty about it. They were just like, we're not vaccinated. We're not trying to like, step on toes or anything. Like, I kind of was like, well, you could just get vaccinated and it wouldn't be a problem. But they at least had the like forethought to think like, well, if we just get our stuff done before the 15th, then we don't have to worry about it and it's not a problem. They didn't put up a fuss. They didn't put up a stink. They were just like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And all's hunky-dory. And I was like, okay, cool. Make sure you get vaccinated regardless. Right.
Kind of liked you. Kind of wanted you
right.
to stay around.
Well,
kind of wanted you to get vaccinated.
Right.
Anything,
Right. For your own health and safety. And I know there's a lot of like a lot of negative press about it that like the government shouldn't like require people to do this, that, and the other thing. Like it shouldn't require it, and because it's like a government overreach. But like truthfully, if we want to, and this is not new information, but if we want to move beyond COVID, like everybody has to suck it up, step up, do their part. I think it was last week that the president of France, Macron, had said, like, made a public statement saying that he and like his government, like the entire government of France, are actively working to pass laws to make public life either impossible or unbearable for unvaccinated people. Like that is what they're actively doing. Because right now they're at like 78% of their population is vaccinated or has had at least one dose of the vaccine. And they're just trying to get that last 20-something%. And they were like, the only way we're going to be able to do this is if we just make everyday life impossible for them, to just kind of like force them to just do the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, truthfully, kind of the stage that I think we're at. Do I ever think that's going to happen in the US? Absolutely not. Mostly because, the problem with the hard thing about the US's situation is that we are a group of independent states unified under like one banner, but even then, like each state kind of does its own thing.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas like a country like France is just everything happened. Yeah, it's a country and
everything happens together.
Yeah.
Unified. I mean, they have their cities and their city-states and stuff like that, but like we have actual states.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen. Same thing happened back in the 1920s with seatbelts.
And yet,
and crosswalks too.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so do you know the story of like crosswalks and jaywalking?
I think I do. I really think I do. Yeah.
So here's the tangent. We're talking about jaywalking now. So first of all, actually, the thing that I learned here in the city of Boston is that the fine for jaywalking, it's actually like illegal to jaywalk in Boston. Haha. Which is the funniest thing on the planet.
And they only enforce it for black people.
But
Sorry,
well, so if I was going to just,
I have some
I was going to say
I have some
if
stories.
they do enforce it, it is primarily on people of color. But that's like even then here in Boston, that's like a huge if because everybody be jaywalking, everybody walking. So
The cops be looking at me. They're looking at me
well, I
like,
mean,
"Ooh,
you're
well,
you're a sketchy character. I've seen how you walk, so
oh, apparently."
well, do better next time. Anywho, the fine for jaywalking in Boston is $1. It's like, yeah, it's like one of those. It's because jaywalking just happens all the time that they just stopped enforcing it, and like they were just like, okay, but we have to keep it on the books or something.
Because it's a
Yeah,
safety
but it
you
is
know.
$1 for your first, I think, 12 infractions in a year. And then after that, it goes up to some exorbitant number like 10 grand. I'm fairly positive. But that 12 infractions, it's a per year sort of thing. So if you only get 11, or if you get 12 infractions, one a month, and then the next year happens, it just goes back to being $1.
I, okay, so like my infractions don't like carry over to
No,
like
you don't have carryover
my time.
infractions.
No, okay.
No, it because the city works on a yearly calendar. Yeah, so I thought that was a fun fact. But the term jaywalking was actually invented by, I believe, the Ford Motor Company. Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so back in the early 1900s when like the actual like automobile was starting to become slightly more prevalent in the United States, right? But because up to that point, all of the streets pretty much in every single city were just kind of like horse drawn carriages and like people. And like people just, you walk on the sidewalk so you don't step in horse poop. But like
Yo, people didn't even walk on the sidewalk.
it was just like walk wherever you needed to walk and don't get hit by a horse. That was kind of the rule of thumb. And then, all of a sudden we have these automobiles that are now able to like tear down the road. But in a large city, it became a problem because everybody's walking in the streets. And so now these cars can't really drive in the street because they have to keep moving. And so what ended up happening, the Ford Motor Company, and I could be wrong from just like naming the company, so I apologize. But the Ford Motor Company started doing basically kind of like an entire media campaign, and invented the word J. It doesn't mean anything, but they like basically started putting out into newspapers and on like radio shows, like the advent of like this horrible group of people known as Jays, and it's like don't let your child become a Jay. They're known for like walking in the middle of the street and blah 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 blah, all of the kind of like new kind of zeitgeisty things that were happening then. But basically the main kind of sticking point was like a Jay walks in the middle of the street and doesn't use the crosswalk. And so they pushed this huge media campaign for a solid year or two until eventually jaywalking actually became like a crime. And they had obviously lobbied a whole bunch of like statesmen and stuff like that to start passing laws in all of these cities to prevent jaywalking, or to prevent jaywalking, which is literally just like walking in the middle of the street, to the point where it became an actual thing. So there you go, a brief history on jaywalking.
That is so funny. I have a buddy who got um, slammed for jaywalking, and his name is actually Jay
Jay.
too. So
Well,
funny.
because it
I'm
varies
gonna tag
from
him in there.
city to city. Obviously, like here on the East Coast, at least in like Boston and New York, jaywalking is just like whatever you get across the street, however you need to get across the street. As long as you're not walking in the middle of the street, nobody really cares, right? Because we have places to be, things to do, you know, things and
Back
stuff and
back
things.
when when did the crosswalk happen? Seatbelt was like the 1920s. I think crosswalk was earlier. It was
Seatbelts.
actually it was when the first signs of like crosswalks were actually like literally ancient Greece, but like more modernized. I think
More
it was like
modernized, yeah.
more. It would be like 18. Let me Google it, but I think it was like
I don't think
was not
seatbelts actually came about until like the
the
1940s.
the 3 point seatbelt was invented in the 1920s. I don't think it was actually being like put in like taken seriously
Mm.
until the 1940s, but it was definitely invented around like the 1920s. I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. I'm looking it up on Wikipedia. So the 2 point belt was first used in March 12th of 1910.
Huh, there you go.
The sash, which is kind of I don't know, sash or shoulder harness, um, was made a requirement in 68. 3 point was first introduced the first production 3 point belt in 1959. First car with the 3 point was 59. Belt and seat 70. Oh, and then there's 4, 5, and 6. There's a 7 point.
You know those harnesses and stuff.
That's fun. So yeah,
But
the first seat belt itself was 1910.
a little bit late. I said 1920. It was okay. Google lies. But
Neighborhood.
crosswalks was it 1950? So crosswalks came after seatbelts. But anyways, the whole point of this is like no, but when they first came out, the American people were just like,
They were like,
nah.
nah. Nah.
Miss me with that. Miss me with that.
Bring it.
Oh,
That,
you want me to walk?
right.
Where?
That's gonna
Like
be
where?
a no from me, dog. That's gonna
And I
be a
mean,
no from me, dog.
and the government is like, hey, we're literally just trying to like
We're just literally
stop.
just trying to stop people
Literally,
from dying,
we're
and
literally.
like I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine where they were like, it's starting to feel almost kind of like this huge kind of like weird like government conspiracy sort of thing, and I was like, what are you talking about? They're literally just trying to stop people from dying. Like you've got to imagine how many people, this is what I think about like when people say like the moon landing wasn't real. How many millions of people have to be in on this vast scheme to
A scheme that costs millions and millions of dollars, like
millions of dollars, millions of lives, and it
to
has been
fabricate.
and it has lasted for the last 2 years.
You know what? Have you seen Don't Look Up yet?
I have not.
Oh my
I know
god.
it's very much a very what's the word, on the nose uh,
It it's right
analysis
up.
of our current political and uh, social climate, as far as the public's trust of experts and scientific experts, which is partially why I haven't watched it, because it's a little too, like, I know it's a comedy, but it's a little too like it
It
comedy.
hits it
Yeah,
hits a little bit hits you close to home, and
It's,
that's what I felt when I was watching it. I was like,
you
yeah,
know,
I was like, I get it. This is not supposed to be comfortable, but like, damn.
it's comedy doing what comedy's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to make light of serious topics in a sense, right? So, yeah, like it's the premise of it is funny, but at the same time, like there's a layer of reality to it that is a little like I'm like,
Too soon? Too soon, anybody?
yeah.
Too
I
soon?
well, and I wouldn't even qualify it necessarily as too soon. It's just like, oh, this is very real. It's like, when the line between real life and comedy is so blurred that that Venn diagram is literally just a full circle.
Yeah, no, it was just like Marcy and I were watching it, and it was just like, this is exactly like it. This is, you know.
Ugh. It's gonna be that's my next thing.
Well, you have to watch it because one, it's hilarious. Two, it's
Hilarious.
that's
Yeah,
it's
that's hilarious.
it's sad. It is depressing, but
But isn't that's life? Life is pain. Life is pain. Um, Apropos, or actually unrelated, we are bizarrely getting to that time in the evening where we have to bid adieu to our viewers at home because we've been talking for a little while now.
just talk.
But before we do that, hold on. I've got to show people some very important things. But before I can do that, I have to fix a camera thing because, we can have nice things here. There we go. It's fixed. Nobody panic. All right, there we go. Scene transition. Yay! So, Bjorn, one of our longtime friends and sometimes shows up on the show here with us. As you all know, he has started his own dance business company situation called The Rock Dance. You can check out the link in the description for therockdance.com. Wicked cool stuff. It's a style of like breakdancing and hip hop that's kind of making a resurgence. And coming to Boston in January is the first ever Rock Champs rock dance competition, which I'm wicked excited about. He's set up this entire event with a group of I'm not in the rock dance world, but a group of world-renowned judges, from what I understand, and they've got it happening on the 22nd of January at Stone Point Brewery in Boston. I'll get the.
I like that it's at a brewery.
It's at a brewery. I will get the exact details of where it is, but it's on January 22nd, and it is going to be awesome. Oh, Bully Boy Distillers. It's at Bully Boy Distillers. That's right.
Distillery, not a brewery.
Yeah, it's a distiller. Oh, it's potato. It's actually right there. It's on this little flyer that I pulled up, but I just forgot to size it so you could see it. There you go. Yeah, so it's at Bully Boy Distillers in Roxbury, Massachusetts, which is just outside, it's part of Boston proper. You can reach it on the Orange Line. But it's, January 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m. Make sure you check it out. It's going to be really, really cool. Admission's $10. You can get more info at therockdance.com. And then aside from that, y'all, make sure you do the thing and support us on Patreon. Thank you to our current patrons. We love you. You're the best. But visit us at patreon.com/next212 the floor. And check us out on all of our socials. You've got Gary at on our Instagram at _good_guy_Gary. And then you've got all of these here socials next to the floor on Facebook. You've got me at Hey Jay on Twitch and next to the floor on the YouTube. And yeah, that's it. That's today. Happy New Year. It's starting off with a bang. Certainly not a fizzle. But, if the year... I don't want to make any predictions. I'm not going to make any predictions for the year. But all I'm going to say is if it's starting off this noisy at the beginning of the year, that usually means the rest of the year has
a wild ride.
It's either going to be a wild ride or the rest of the year is going to be kind of calm, which I guess is what you can say for any year. But
I mean, you didn't say it. What about 2020, man?
We didn't talk about it. Oh, well, 2020, we were hyped up about 2020. We were 2020, this is our year. We're going to Aruba. We're teaching mad lessons, this, that, the other thing. But now, I feel like our expectations are tempered. Things are good. We're in a good spot. Everything's going to be fine. Nobody panic. It's just dancing. There's no need to stress.
Nobody panic.
Nobody panic. Everybody stay calm. Yeah. And with that, Gary, do you have any parting words?
No.
No? All right.
Oh, I do. My parting words are stay educated.
Get yourself highly educated. So that way you know something. It takes you, and as always, costs you $0 to be a good person. So do that, and until we see you next time, we'll catch you on the floor. Peace. Oh wait, here's the camera over here. I keep forgetting. Not this one. This one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Goodbye now. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye. Goodbye.